What's up, guys? My name is Brian Reese. I'm a cross country and track athlete at Lipscomb University. This is my Radical Revision worship project. I'm going to talk about how this painting right here of Steve Prefontaine and his famous quote, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift," had an impact on my running career and also on my life in general. I started running at a very young age. And Steve Prefontaine inspired me to be the best runner on and off the cross country course and the track, and helped guide me in my face through the ups and downs in life. But I don't want to personally talk about the impact he had on my life. I want to talk about two people who had an impact on my life and how Steve Prefontaine impacted them. Their names are Brent Lieber and Zach Israel. They're two of the best runners Lipscomb University has ever seen, and we're going to talk to them about how Steve Prefontaine and this quote has had an impact on their life. I'm here with Brent Lieber, Lipscomb's best runner currently on the Lipscomb cross country and track team, has run some really fast times and has gone through some adversity throughout his career. He loves Steve Prefontaine and thinks of him as a role model. Brent, talk to us what Steve Prefontaine means to you and has had an impact on your running career, and as well as this famous quote, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift."
Yeah, so Steve Prefontaine, he's an inspiration, I think, to me and a lot of other runners just because of just the grit he ran with. He was super, super talented, but I think what set him apart from everybody else was that he was willing to go to places mentally and physically that a lot of people weren't. And he wasn't the type of guy that in traditional racing, what most people do in championships is they just go out slow and then kick really hard at the end and like sprint to the finish. But he was always about like setting an honest pace and putting on a show for the fans. So he would basically go to his limit every time he got on the track, and he would race like as hard as he could from the gun and then challenge everyone to catch him to the finish. So I just think his racing style was really unique, and just everything he did, he gave 100%, whether it was like running or just other areas of his life. So that's what I would say is most inspirational about him. And then in terms of his quote, I think it's a great quote, not just for like athletes, but also just for people in general in life, because God gives everybody certain gifts. We don't all have the same gifts, but I think that the quote's really true. Like, you're sacrificing your gift if you don't give your best in it. So whether you're a teacher, whether you're a construction worker, whether you're a professional athlete, like I think it really is important, like he said, to give 100% in whatever you're doing, whatever God's calling you to do. So yeah, he's a great guy, and he had a great career. It's sad that it came to an end prematurely, but he's still, like, he definitely lives on, I think, in the hearts of a lot of track and field fans and just people in general. So we did too.
I'm here with Zach Israel, multiple all-conference selection and runner for Lipscomb University as well. Zach, talk to me about how Steve Prefontaine has had an impact on your life and his famous quote, "To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift."
Yeah, for me, I think Steve Prefontaine is one of those historic runners that a lot of people hear about when they first get into running. And there's a lot of things out there to promote him and like his career and what he resembled as a runner. First off, he made a way for a lot of amateur runners in the sport before professionals received a lot of compensation, and when amateurs were pretty much what made up the sport. He really resembled grit and hard work in the sport, and he's willing to push himself physically, sort of to the point that his competitors weren't, and that was sort of his goal. Was he may not be the most talented, but he was willing to hurt and push himself to a point that his competitors wouldn't be willing to go to. And then also, I think that's what he's willing to do physically, but that takes a large amount of mental preparation. And so I think he's definitely a figure that inspires a lot of young athletes in our sport. And then I would say with the quote, in the world of running, Christianity, I would say, isn't extremely popular. But for a lot of Christians I know in the sport, we see running as a gift. And while I don't think Steve Prefontaine necessarily meant this quote to be in a Christian perspective or with his heart postured in a Christian manner. That's a way that I definitely, take the quote and see it in my life. I can't imagine sacrificing this gift that God's given me and sort of just wasting it. So even if I'm hurt or can't run or there's something, I'm just not having a good day in the sport, I see it as an opportunity to get better. And the last thing I would want to do is sacrifice this gift that God's given me. So that's definitely one way that Steve Prefontaine probably unintentionally inspired me and other Christians in our sport.
All right, there you have it. That were the insights from Brent Lieber and Zach Israel about Steve Prefontaine and his famous quote. I had a lot of comparisons to their insights of Steve Prefontaine and his famous quote as well. We drew a lot of comparisons, and it was great to get an insight on them and how they applied their faith and their athleticism to Steve Prefontaine, how they just grew in life from the time they started running and to their time now. And I definitely see the same situation as them, and it's definitely been a great worship experience of Steve Prefontaine, just getting to know his story and his famous quote. It's just really special, and he's had an impact on my life, and I'm definitely couldn't be the person I am without him and his inspiration and his story, and I'm totally grateful for it. And so, I want to thank my high school coach, Jerry Casher, for sending me a picture of this painting. It's back in my room at home, but I was able to take a picture of it online, and it's definitely a huge part of my life, and I'm totally grateful for it. So I hope all the people watching got to know a little bit more about Steve Prefontaine and about his story and how much he's had an impact on my life and Brent and Zach's life. And it's definitely an experience that I'll never forget. All right. Thank you, guys.